I ordered a spicy Malatang hotpot. When the delivery driver arrived, I noticed the meat inside seemed to have a foul smell. I immediately messaged the restaurant. The meat's been sitting out for so long and you still have the nerve to sell it to customers? The restaurant replied in an instant. Oh, really? We just discounted this meat today. Guaranteed fresh and delicious. Along with the message was a picture. A blood-soaked human head on a cutting board. I screamed. My phone slipped from my hand and fell to the floor. I turned to look at the foul-smelling hotpot next to me. Ngay, singing at the outside. Ngay, I was helping you. With gas, helping I thought I smelled stein, but my anger from earlier had now completely transformed into extreme horror. What did the restaurant owner mean by that? Did he mean he had killed someone, and the meat in my Malatang hotpot was the victim's flesh? Even though I hadn't touched the food, my stomach churned violently, threatening to vomit. I forced myself to calm down, trembling as I picked up my phone. This conversation with the restaurant owner was happening on the food delivery app. In the chat group, besides me and the owner, the delivery driver was also present. The delivery driver had clearly seen the owner's message and the gruesome photo, and was so scared, he sent several messages in a row. What the hell? Is this for real? Or a joke? Don't mess with me like that, man. I tried to suppress my nausea and reopened the photo the owner had sent. I had been too panicked earlier to look closely. Now I could clearly see a human head on the cutting board, blood and flesh mangled, the face unrecognizable. I could only vaguely guess it was a man. Next to it was a pile of chopped meat, and the photo also showed a pot cooking something. It didn't look like a malicious prank at all. I'm really going to throw up. I quickly grabbed my phone, intending to call the police. But just then, ding-dong, my doorbell rang. My nerves were already stretched taut like guitar strings. The sudden sound of the doorbell made me jump. Who is it? A man's urgent voice quickly answered from outside the door. It's me. The delivery driver who just delivered your hotpot. I walked to the door and peered through the peephole. It was indeed the yellow delivery uniform, a helmet on his head, and a rather studious-looking face. The exact young man who had delivered my food earlier. Only then did I dare to open the door, but I still maintained a degree of caution, leaving the security chain on. I opened the door a crack, wary. What's wrong? Why are you back? The delivery driver's face was drenched in sweat, his expression extremely anxious. Miss, you saw the message and the photo the owner sent in the group, didn't you? I called the police, but I kept thinking, what if you didn't notice the message? What if you accidentally ate it or threw the hot pot away? And then the police needed evidence but couldn't find it. That's why I rushed back. I hadn't expected him to be so proactive. Don't worry. I swallowed hard. I saw the message. I haven't touched the hot pot at all. That's good then. Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. I don't know if that owner is playing a sick joke or telling the truth. We'll just have to wait for the police to handle it. With that, he hurried off to continue his other deliveries. But I no longer had the presence of mind to do anything else. I didn't dare touch the spicy hot pot in the dining room. I just hid in my bedroom, clutching my phone, waiting for the police to contact me. My phone suddenly vibrated. Then I quickly looked down Another message from the food delivery app. It was from the restaurant owner. Which one of you two called the police? I was just kidding. And you actually believed me. The police are here at my restaurant. Immediately after, he sent another photo, showing several police officers inside his establishment. The restaurant owner said that, yet the police hadn't contacted me at the Hotpot. Could this really just be one of his malicious pranks? I was furious. I angrily replied, "What kind of joke is this? You, psycho." No one replied in the chat group. The delivery driver was probably still on the road, so there was no response from him either. I was so angry, I wanted to throw my phone, when suddenly the community chat group kept popping up with notifications. Because there were many elderly people in that group who often chatted idly, I usually didn't pay much attention to the messages. But today, as I scrolled through, I thought I saw the words police. My eyelids twitched, and I quickly tapped to view them. What's going on with that Malatang shop at the end of our alley? Why are there so many police cars parked in front? Oh my goodness, I just secretly asked around. It seems the owner killed someone. Is that true or false? I remember that owner. He looked so kind and simple. How could he kill someone? Is there a misunderstanding? No mistake. I deliberately asked the police officer. He really did kill someone. Not only that, he's also fled. No one knows where he is now. Oh my God, everyone look. Our world's public security information page is announcing it now. Along with it was a link. I quickly clicked to view it. And sure enough, it was the official information page of our ward's Public Security Bureau. Malatang Hotpot owner, Mr. Lee. Address 33 Namdang Street, suspected of intentional murder and concealing a body. Has officially been issued an arrest warrant. Suspect Mr. Lee is currently on the run. Whereabouts unknown. The public is requested to contact the police immediately if Mr. Lee is sighted. Accompanying it was a photo of a man with a buzz cut and a plump face. In that instant, my limbs went cold. So this Hotpot owner really had killed someone. What was even more terrifying was that he was now missing. Just as I was engulfed in a wave of horror, my phone unexpectedly vibrated again. I looked down. Another text message. Nowadays, everyone uses messaging apps. Aside from bank alerts and verification codes, I rarely receive messages like this. I tapped to open it. It was from an unknown number. Did you call the police? I flinched, almost dropping my phone again. Who was it? Who sent me this message? Could it be that owner? I was so terrified I was about to call the police in a hurry. But unexpectedly, a new message immediately arrived. Was it you? You dared to call the police? Aren't you afraid of my revenge? Believe it or not, I'll chop off your head and make it into Malatang Hotpot for you to see. What flavor Hotpot do you like? Oh, you ordered spicy and numbing, so I'll cook it spicy and numbing, okay? Messages poured in one after another. My phone vibrated incessantly, and I felt as if my finger bones were going numb. I couldn't take it anymore. I frantically tried to call the police. But, in my extreme panic, my hand trembled, and I accidentally misdialed the strange number that had just messaged me, turning it into a direct call to him. Ah! I cried out in horror, desperately trying to hang up. But it was too late. Beep. The call connection tone rang, and at the same time, rang, ring, ring, ring. Oh, The distinctive iPhone ringtone echoed from the living room outside my bedroom. Immediately after, my phone vibrated and a new message popped up. I'm here to find you. All the blood in my body seemed to freeze. That ringtone. Why was it so close? It was coming from the empty living room. Could the murderer, that restaurant owner, be in my living room? The thought flashed through my mind, and my brain felt like it would explode. My body reacted even faster than my thoughts. I sprang out of bed, slammed my bedroom door shut with a bang, and quickly locked it. Immediately after, I called the police. I trembled, holding the phone to my ear, my entire body shaking uncontrollably. But I waited for a long time and heard no connection sound. I quickly looked down and discovered my phone screen had gone black. I frantically pressed the screen, but there was no response at all. My limbs went cold. How could I be so unlucky? At such a critical moment, my phone ran out of battery. I frantically searched for a charger in the room. But then, I remembered the charger was in my study. My laptop and anything else that could connect to the outside world were all in the study. I wanted to open the window and scream for help to the people downstairs. But my apartment was on the 20-something floor, making it impossible. I collapsed despairingly to the floor, taking deep breaths, forcing myself to calm down. Calm down. Oh no. You have to calm down, Liangu. After I calmed down, I started to think. First, logically speaking, my door was always locked. The chance of the killer entering my home was extremely small. But why was there a phone ringing in the living room? I was very sure that there was no other phone in my living room. Moreover, that phone ringtone seemed to coincide strangely. It happened exactly when I called that murderous restaurant owner. Even if it was only a 1 in 10,000 chance, I dared not take the risk. Now, I was under extreme tension, barricaded in my room. Since this perpetrator was already on the police's radar, I believed they would surely investigate my Malatang Hotpot order soon and find me from there. I just needed to hold on. I waited silently for an unknown amount of time. Cold sweat drenched my back, but there was no sound outside the room, no phone ringing, no footsteps. Until, knock, 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 a rapid series of knocks suddenly echoed from outside the door. My nerves instantly tightened like guitar strings. Immediately after, I heard an agitated voice from outside. "Oh, hey, miss, are you all right? It's the delivery driver who delivered your food." I was stunned. The delivery driver? Why was he back? With both the main door and my bedroom door between us, I couldn't help but shout, "Why are you here?" The delivery driver outside answered loudly. I saw the information online that Malatang Hotpot owner really did kill someone. I was worried something might have happened to you, so I came back to check. Hearing these words, I suddenly felt like crying. Perhaps it was because my nerves had been strained for too long, and suddenly someone appeared to break this deadlock. Suddenly, having someone care about me made me feel like I saw hope. I couldn't help but shout, "I'm worried that owner is inside my house. I don't dare go out." The delivery driver outside seemed startled when he heard my words. "He's in your house? Wait a moment. I'm coming right in. What's your house password? My door had a password lock. As long as you had the password, you could enter. At this moment, I was truly too scared and desperately needed someone to help me confirm the situation inside the house. So, without thinking much, I blurted it out. 331. A soft A-beep beep sounded from outside the door, followed immediately by the sound of the door opening. I waited anxiously, listening to the rapid, chaotic footsteps outside. After a dozen minutes, I heard the delivery driver's voice. "Miss, I've checked. There's no one in your house." Even though he said that, I still couldn't relax. I shouted, but I heard the phone in the living room just now. The delivery driver outside was silent for a moment. Then footsteps sounded again. Immediately after, I heard his voice as if a burden had been lifted. I found the phone. "You can come out now." Only then did I cautiously open the door, and I saw the delivery driver standing there, talking on the phone. "Yes, West Garden Residential Area, Unit 2206. He left a phone at the door. Could you please come and take a look?" After saying that, he hung up and turned to smile at me. "Don't be afraid. I've called the police and told them about your situation." Then he raised his other hand, which held another iPhone. He explained to me. I checked. There's no one in the room. But there was a phone placed at your main entrance. The phone ring you heard was actually coming from outside the door. I finally understood. Because I was in my room earlier, when I heard the phone outside. Since I could hear the sound, I naturally assumed it was coming from the living room. But actually, the phone was outside the main door. And perhaps the volume was turned up to the maximum, which made me think it was coming from inside the house. I let out a complete sigh of relief, but deep down, I still felt scared. Even though I knew that Malatang Hotpot owner hadn't entered my house, thinking about him tracking my delivery address all the way to my door and sinisterly placing a phone there still felt very terrifying. "Thank you so much." I looked up at the delivery driver sincerely, feeling a bit guilty and regretful at the same time. Actually, I shouldn't have let him in earlier. He should have stayed outside and called the police immediately. Because I was so scared earlier, I desperately hoped someone would come to help me. So I recklessly told him the password to let him in. But thinking about it carefully, what if that murderous owner had really been in my house? Wouldn't I have put this young man in danger? Fortunately, the murderous owner had only left the phone at the door, and he wasn't there himself. Hearing my words, the delivery driver awkwardly scratched his head. "Ah, I didn't think much just now either. I just thought you were a girl living alone and must be very scared." So I rushed in immediately. After saying that, he looked at me a bit shyly, his whole face turning red, and his voice became softer. And I'm willing to face a bit of danger for you." I suddenly understood something and felt my face warm up slightly. I couldn't help but secretly glance at the delivery driver. Before, with everything in a chaotic mess, I hadn't had time to look at him carefully. I only remembered he looked a bit studious and fairer skinned than average delivery drivers. But now, looking closely, I realized he was actually very handsome, and he looked quite young. He didn't have the rough, worldly look of ordinary delivery drivers. Instead, he was very clean, neat, and had a somewhat scholarly air about him. I couldn't help but ask, "What's your name? Do you do this full time?" "My name is Ethan Fang. He smiled at me, revealing a charming pair of dimples. I don't do it full-time. I'm a student at Donghai University, doing this part-time to earn some pocket money. You're a student at Donghai University. I couldn't help but be surprised. I also studied at Donghai University. I only graduated 2 years ago. The young man visibly brightened when he heard me say that. Oh, so you're my senior. Unexpectedly, Ethan and I got along very well in conversation. I even almost forgot my fear until I heard the wail of police sirens downstairs. Very quickly, a group of police officers entered my house. They carefully questioned me about the entire incident, cautiously took away my Malatang Hotpot, and meticulously photographed my room and the entrance. They also called the building management to help them review the surveillance cameras. The camera footage clearly showed that at the exact moment I was resting in my room, a man wearing a raincoat and a hat to conceal his face stealthily appeared at my door. The man seemed very familiar with the apartment complex's camera system. His face was completely obscured. The camera only showed him carefully studying the password lock for a long time, eventually silently placing a phone in front of my door. That's definitely the culprit, I said, frightened, my body trembling, thinking of this insane perpetrator who had been just a few meters away from me, separated by only a single door. I felt a chill run through my entire body. The police nodded. It's likely Mr. Lee. He might have thought you were the one who reported him, so he wanted to retaliate against you. Hearing that, I found it truly absurd. This Mr. Lee was indeed a madman. If he was afraid I'd call the police, he shouldn't have sent me that horrible photo in the first place. The police, sensing my lingering fear, reassured me. Don't worry. We'll leave 2 officers downstairs to protect you later. At this point, I relaxed a little, but at the same time, I was more concerned about one issue. Was the meat in my Malatang Hotpot really the victim's flesh, even though I hadn't eaten any of it? If it truly belonged to the victim, just touching it would be enough to become a lifelong psychological trauma for me. The police officer said gently, currently, we can't confirm it yet, but the victim was indeed dismembered and cooked at high temperatures. Because the body was severely damaged, we also cannot confirm whether any part of it was sent to your place, although the officer tried to soften his words. This brief description, combined with the photo the perpetrator had sent me earlier on the food delivery app, I couldn't help but imagine the gruesome scene. I almost vomited. Has the victim's identity been confirmed yet? I wondered who could be so tragic, not only losing their life, but having their body desecrated like that after death. The police shook their heads because the body was too severely damaged, and despite the perpetrator's ruthlessness, he was very careful and cleaned the crime scene exceptionally well. We have not yet been able to determine the victim's identity. I quickly said, didn't Mr. Lee send me a photo on the food delivery app? The human head on the chopping board. Can't that photo help you identify the deceased? Even though the face in the photo wasn't clear, the police could surely discern more information from it. The police nodded. Yes, now with your photo, we do have an additional clue. Hearing the police say that, I couldn't help but be stunned. You hadn't seen this photo before? No. After Mr. Lee committed the crime. He drove his private car to escape, and he didn't leave his phone behind. We hadn't expected him to be so insane as to deliver human flesh as takeout, and even send such photos to customers, so we didn't search records on food delivery platforms earlier. I was even more dumbfounded. Ethan Fang was clearly the one who called the police. So why didn't he show the chat log to the police then? No, that's not right. More accurately, judging by the police officer's tone, they seem to have been completely unaware that Mr. Lee had delivered Malatang Hotpot to me. Otherwise, they would have come to me earlier for such an important piece of evidence as the Malatang Hotpot. I had been waiting at home for the police to come find me for that very reason. I was wondering why they hadn't come, but it seemed they only just found out now that Mr. Lee had delivered a portion of Malatang containing a body to me. This was far too strange. Did Ethan Fang not mention this when he called the police? But if he didn't, how could he explain knowing that Mr. Lee had killed someone? I felt a strange sense of unease. Just as I was about to ask, a police officer's phone suddenly rang. The officer answered, and his expression immediately changed. What? Mr. Lee's car has been found? Good, we'll be right there. After hanging up, the officer immediately told me, Miss Gu, the culprit Mr. Lee tried to drive out of the city, but unexpectedly got into an accident on the road and was stopped by traffic police. We're going over there to handle it right away. Your place should be safe now. Hearing the news that the culprit had been caught, I felt a huge weight lift from me and collapsed onto the sofa. The police officers hurriedly left. Since the culprit had been caught, they no longer assigned anyone to stay and protect me. After the police left, Ethan Fang didn't leave immediately, but looked at me worriedly. Sister, are you okay? I forced a faint smile. I'm fine. I just want to be alone for a bit. Ethan, understanding, stood up. All right, then I'll go. If anything happens, just call me. We had exchanged phone numbers earlier. After seeing Ethan off downstairs, I realized I was so hungry. My stomach was growling. It was true, I hadn't eaten anything since noon, but now every thought of meat made me nauseous. So I bought some bread at the apartment complex gate and went home. Unexpectedly, as soon as I got home and changed into my slippers at the door, before I even turned on the lights, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. The moment I answered, I heard the urgent voice of the police officer from earlier. Hey, Miss Q, is that you? We found Mr. Lee's car, but we discovered the driver wasn't Mr. Lee. What? My face changed. The officer continued to speak very quickly. We questioned the driver. Someone gave him money and told him to impersonate Mr. Ra Lee and drive out of the city. I also panicked. So Mr. Lee hasn't been caught yet? He could still come after me. I was absolutely terrified and quickly turned around to lock the door tightly. Unexpectedly, the police officer on the phone quickly said, "That's impossible. Miss Go, I called you because there's something else I need to inform you about. The forensic department just called. Because the body at the Malatang hot restaurant was chopped into small pieces and cooked at high temperatures, and the blood at the scene was cleaned up very thoroughly. We hadn't been able to identify the body before. But now, we finally found a small amount of blood in a corner of the room that the culprit missed cleaning. Through DNA comparison from the bloodstain at the scene, we discovered that the body is actually the Malatang Hotpot, Mr. Lee Dot. At this moment I was completely stunned. the deceased was Mr. Lee. But wasn't he the culprit? This sudden news made me dizzy. The police officer's voice on the phone also sounded a bit awkward. This was due to our misjudgment. The crime scene was Mr. Lee's kitchen. Additionally, the camera at the back door of the Malatang Hotpot restaurant recorded a man wearing Mr. Lee's clothes, driving Mr. Lee's car, away after the murder occurred. Although the camera didn't capture the man's face, because his attire and height were similar to Mr. Lee's, we assumed Mr. Lee had committed the murder and fled, thus listing Mr. Lee as the prime suspect. But now we've investigated and found that Mr. Lee is the deceased, so the culprit is someone else. I thought it over carefully. It was true that from the beginning I had received messages from the Malatang Hotpot owner, and I instinctively assumed the culprit was the owner. But now, thinking about it closely, it was also possible that the culprit had killed the owner, disposed of the body in his kitchen, and then used his phone to message me. Even the fact that someone later placed a phone in front of my door. The camera didn't actually capture the person's face, so it couldn't prove it was the Malatang Hotpot owner. Unexpectedly, Mr. Lee was the victim. So who was the culprit? The police officer's voice on the phone was still urgent. But no matter what, the culprit definitely wants revenge on you. We will return to your place immediately. You must stay inside and protect yourself. At this moment, I could no longer clearly hear what the police officer was saying, because I suddenly noticed that the light in my kitchen was on. My kitchen had frosted glass, sliding doors. Although the doors were closed, I could still see the light inside. But I clearly remembered that before I left, I had checked all the lights and locked the door carefully. No one could have entered, unless I suddenly felt as if the blood in my entire body had frozen. Earlier, I had rushed downstairs and hadn't changed the password for the door lock, so besides me, there was one other person who knew my door's password. Could it be? My heart just dropped, and the kitchen door slid open. Ethan Fang carried a pot, smiling as he looked at me. "Sister, do you want some Malatang hot pot?" In that instant, I felt as if all the blood in my body had frozen. The next second, my body reacted faster than my brain. I frantically turned to run out, but it was too late. Ethan had clearly prepared. He lunged forward, grabbed my hair, and forcefully slammed me to the ground. Hood! My chin hit the floor hard, the pain so intense that tears streamed uncontrollably. But I didn't have time to pay attention. I struggled wildly and screamed, "Let me go, Ethan Fang! You and I have no enmity. Why are you treating me like this?" My unintentional words unexpectedly hit Ethan Fang's anger point. He tightened his grip on my hair, forcing me to lift my head and look at him. There were no lights on in my room at this moment. We could only rely on the light spilling from the kitchen. The cold, white light shone on his face. His once handsome face, which had once stirred a slight flutter in my heart, now looked as dark as a demon from hell. "No enmity," he sneered. "Liangu, have you forgotten Dim Fang?" Dim Fang. The moment these two words rang out, I felt as if I had been struck by lightning, my whole body rigid. "Dim Fang, my lips trembled, are you related to her?" Yes. My words were cut off by Ethan Fang's cold interruption. Dim Fang was my sister, Have you forgotten how you caused her death? And you still have the nerve to ask me why I'm doing this to you. My whole body trembled. I never, even in my wildest dreams, imagined that Ethan Fang was Dean Fang's younger brother. An overwhelming sense of guilt washed over me. For a moment, I even wanted to give up resisting, letting him do as he pleased. But that was only for a fleeting second. I quickly regained my composure, speaking calmly and firmly. Ethan Fang, listen to me. Dean's death was also very painful for me. I know you're very upset, but I am absolutely not the culprit. What happened that year did indeed stem from me, but I am also innocent. Even if you want revenge, you shouldn't come after me. Dean Fang had been my best friend and roommate in college. In college? Oh, yeah. Our relationship had been very good. We ate together, went to class together, and fangirled over idols together. In our third year of college, we both idolized a top female artist. We had joined her fan club. One time, this artist held a concert, and both of us desperately wanted to go. But at the time, we were poor students and didn't have money for tickets, so we could only participate in a ticket lottery through the fan club. In the end, I won a ticket, but Diem didn't. And it happened to be Dime's birthday then, so I gave her my ticket. Diem was overjoyed at the time and went to the concert alone, but unexpectedly, a stampede occurred at the concert, and Diem didn't make it. After that, I suffered from depression for a period. I also blamed myself, doubted myself, feeling that if I hadn't given Dime that ticket, she wouldn't have died. I felt like I was the murderer. But later, with the advice of my parents and a psychologist, I came to terms with it. This was not my fault. The real wrongdoers were the organizers. They failed to arrange proper emergency exits and set up seating too densely. That was the cause of the incident. The one who should be ashamed was not me. My original intention was never for Deem to die. I shouldn't live my whole life in torment because of a random coincidence. However, the Ethan Fang in front of me clearly didn't think that way. He was just like the me from that year, believing that if I hadn't given Diem Fang that ticket, she wouldn't have died. Perhaps it was because he harbored too much resentment, too much pain, or perhaps because all his hatred had no way to be unleashed. He couldn't seek revenge on the organizers, nor could he seek revenge on that female artist. In the end, he could only unleash all his hatred on me. He even desperately wanted to kill me. Hearing my words, Ethan Fang's eyes flickered, and then I saw him let out a bitter laugh. Actually, rationally, I know this isn't your fault. That's why, despite hating you in my heart for all these years, I never thought of harming you. But unexpectedly, today, while I was eating Malatang Hotpot at the restaurant, I suddenly heard the owner talking to another customer. As he said this, Ethan Fang's hand involuntarily clenched into a fist, his teeth gritted, his eyes filled with deep hatred. That bastard was also a fan of that damn artist. He even mentioned the concert accident from that year. Do you know what I heard him say to someone else? He was such a crazy fan that he said if he could just see his idol perform once, he would die happily. He even said that the fans who died in that incident were lucky. What? Aha! Can you imagine? A middle-aged man so obsessed with an idol. The important thing is, if he's obsessed himself, fine. But what right does he have to define the deaths of others? That was a human life. A living, breathing, human life. I found it disgusting, so in a fit of rage, I chopped off his head and made it into Malatang Hotpot. My whole body trembled. So that's how the Malatang Hotpot owner died. It truly was a disaster caused by his own words. As I listened to Ethan Fang, I tried to think as quickly as possible. I knew that even though my phone had been cut off when I fell, the police must have realized something was wrong. They were definitely on their way. What I needed to do now was buy time. So I swallowed hard and quietly said, "So you killed him, and even made him into Malatang Hotpot?" Ethan Fang looked down at me slightly, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Yes. After I killed him, I found a delivery order on the table. That's when I realized how small this world is. You just happened to order food from this very Malatang shop. I thought this must be fate, that heaven wanted me to punish you properly. Since it was heaven's will, how could I ignore it? So, I turned him into Malatang Hotpot, partly to torment you, and partly to dispose of the body. So that Hotpot was real... My stomach churned again, almost making me vomit, but I forced myself to calm down and speak. "And then what? You pretended to be the delivery driver to find me?" "Yes," Ethan Fang said coldly. "After I disposed of the body, the delivery driver arrived. I gave him a large sum of money, told him to give me his clothes, and then impersonate Mr. Lee and drive out of the city. He didn't go into the kitchen, didn't know I killed someone. He thought I was just playing a prank and couldn't resist the temptation of that large sum of money. So he agreed. So the police caught driving Mr. Bell, Lee's car, out of the city and getting into an accident was actually the delivery driver who was supposed to deliver my food." Ethan Fang spoke again, his voice chillingly dark. "My plan was originally perfect, without a single flaw, but I didn't expect to be so unlucky. Someone heard Mr. Lee's tragic screams before he died and called the police. It was then that I realized the person who first called the police was not Ethan Fang at all. Thinking back, the first time Ethan Fang told me he had called the police, I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. So he had lied to me that time. He hadn't called the police at all. Even the photo of the police at the restaurant that the owner posted on the food delivery app was probably posted by him using the owner's phone after editing the picture. Initially, he used the Malatang Hotpot incident to scare me, to approach me under the guise of the delivery driver. Pretending to have called the police as a malicious joke was to prevent me from calling the police. But he didn't expect someone else to discover the crime scene and actually call the police. Since someone else called the police, no wonder the police initially knew nothing about me. Receiving the Malatang Hotpot and the photos on the food delivery platform, Ethan Fang continued in a cold voice. "The first time I came to your house, I actually wanted to kill you already, but you were too careful, opening the door for me, but still keeping the security chain on. Afterwards, because the police started investigating Mr. Lee's death, I had to be more cautious. I couldn't let the police suspect me. That's why I deliberately called the police once, to clear myself of suspicion, and to gain your trust. Ethan Fang looked at me, a twisted smile on his face. I truly succeeded. You actually told me the password to your main door. Ha 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 ha! After that, I destroyed the camera in front of your house. Without a camera and no signs of forced entry on your main door, I could easily fabricate your death as a suicide. However, Ethan Fang's expression turned cold. I didn't expect that delivery driver to be so useless. Getting into a traffic accident and getting caught so quickly. But it doesn't matter. I handled Mr. Lee's body very cleanly. As long as I handle you cleanly too, the police won't suspect me. Clearly, when I called the police earlier, Ethan Fang in the kitchen probably only heard my return, but didn't clearly hear my conversation with the police. That's why he didn't know that, at Mr. Lee's crime scene, a part of his bloodstain that he hadn't cleaned was exposed. He also didn't know that the police had called me, and even less that the police were on their way, which is why he kept rambling to me for so long. "All right," he said, picking up a knife and sneering coldly. "Enough talk. You should die now." With that, he raised the cleaver in his hand and swung it down towards me. "Wait!" I cried out in horror, trying to run, but I couldn't escape, only managing to dodge a little. Ah! The knife struck my arm. An intense pain surged through me, and fresh blood immediately stained my clothes red. I was in so much pain I almost passed out, but I couldn't, because Ethan Fang swung down again. This time, his target was my neck. I couldn't move, despairingly closing my eyes, waiting for death. But unexpectedly at that very moment, "Don't move!" a loud shout rang out. The room door was flung open, and several police officers rushed in. Ethan Fang's face changed when he saw the police. "You..." Finally, he understood that I had been talking so much to him to buy time. Enraged, he tried to swing the knife down again. But it was too late. The police had already rushed forward and quickly subdued him. "Clan!" Ah! The knife in Ethan Fang's hand fell to the floor. I was saved. "Lian Gu, you just wait!" Ethan Fang roared as he was led away by the police. The police also approached me. "Miss Gu," the officer looked at me apologetically. "Are you all right? We'll take you to the hospital to treat your wound." I nodded and was helped to my feet by him. As we went downstairs, I saw Ethan Fang being put into a police car. Finally, I couldn't help but ask, "Ethan Fang, what will happen to him?" The police officer replied with an impassive expression, "Intentional murder with such heinous detail. It's likely at least life imprisonment." This answer somewhat relieved me. After all, I've seen how much Ethan Fang hates me. If he were only imprisoned for a few years and then released, I know he would still come after me for revenge. He has lost all reason. I can't possibly use logic to make him understand that Deem's death that year was not caused by me. If it's life imprisonment, then I'm safe. But at the same time, I also felt a little sad. I looked up at the sky outside. "Deem, your brother has become like this. Are you sad?"